Already back, two videos. I'm about to go on vacation, so I thought I'd do two videos and let them simmer for the week. But just wanted to go over my last video. I did a quick review of this Elite Algo system, so go check that out. But this video, I really wanted to talk about my new setup and how I caught the most recent Bitcoin bottom. So real quick, let's just go through that. Okay, so what we're going to talk about real quick is this indicator MTF OCR. Okay, it's my new favorite thing. It's the multiple time frame previous open, close, and range by Pro Indicators, and they actually have a website with a really interesting looking indicator system, but it's really complicated. I think it could work really well, but it would take a lot of learning and stuff, and I'm just not. I like this system best. So I wanted to go over this real quick. Okay, so what it does is it's actually going to print the previous day, previous week, and previous month, the open, close, and the highs and lows as this box here. So for example, let's just look at this real quick. I'm going to turn everything else off. Okay, so this is the new day. Okay, what it's printing as we move along here is the previous day's range. Okay, and it's also going to print the open, which is this green line, and the previous day close. Now these are important because as far as a day trader goes, these are your most important levels for day trading. Okay, but there's also bigger levels that are involved. So, but your first and foremost, your day trades, you're going to be looking to take entries and exits off of these daily levels first and foremost. I'm not going to talk about this yet. I'll talk about the volume setup here in a minute. But okay, so that's the daily. So it's going to show you the daily. So here's a gap. So this is 2 days ago range. It shows the gap as well from the open and the close, and then it's going to show the previous day open. So this is the previous day 2 days ago open. So you can see it opened here, and then it printed the line there for me, and then it also printed the previous day close, which happened here. But how I caught this potential bottom was I was using the weekly, which is this one. So this was last week's, and here's this was 2 weeks ago, and then this was last week's range. So right now we're in yesterday's range and inside of last week's range for Bitcoin right now. So this is very important to know. We're right smack in the middle of last week's range. So this is obviously going to be a big point here. Getting up into the upper half of last week's range is going to be a big deal. And then we're also going to be using the monthly as well. So there's last month's range. So we're trading, you can kind of see now the pattern here, where we're trading underneath last week's range. This was last week. And right now we're trading underneath last month's range. And here's the close, here's the open, and then this is the entire range. So as you're trading this, you get a lot of context just using these systems. So instead of using the pivot points like I've always used before, similar to this, where I was trying to just get a broad context real fast, where the price is relative to its either pivot points or previous ranges and that kind of thing. This is going to solve it for me because those pivot points are just based off of these numbers anyway. So now we're going back to, when you're using the daily, weekly, and monthlies, you're going back to the origination of all the other indicators is just based on the open, high, low, close, or some derivative of that, some variation. So okay, so now we're using that. If you guys have ever heard of raindrop candles from TrendSpider, the really cool little volume profile candlesticks, instead of having like just a regular Heiken Ashi or just a regular candle, well, that's what this volume profile does here. The session volume under volume profile in TradingView. So it's going to give you similar to that. So now we're starting to build a picture here of what Bitcoin's trying to do, what the buyers and sellers are trying to do with Bitcoin. Right now, there are a lot of sellers here trying to push it down. And now we can get the volume profile of each day. So this is the volume profile of the current day. And now we can compare it to the previous range. And so now we're getting a picture here of what, there's 70% of the volume here is right here, and then these are the excess highs, excess lows for the day. Okay, and we're going to compare that to the previous range. And the reason I said there's a bottom here in Bitcoin between 32 and 33, it actually went to 31. So I didn't think it would actually push that low. But I mean, the reason I was saying that was because if you're looking at these profiles here, this drop here, if you ever watched crypto for a long time, you know that these dips like this, these deleveraging dips where accounts are being liquidated, this is what it looks like when these huge accounts are just being destroyed because the exchanges are forcing them to basically liquidate their positions because they're so leveraged, and they're just having to dump. So you just start seeing this, just price gets really loose, it starts moving really fast, and that's where you get this volume profile here where you don't get a lot of volume actually being traded into the lows. And so the idea here is that you want to be buying here into the lows of the day, because there's not a lot of volume here. How can price get pushed even further lower if there's not enough sellers to do that? So you're looking for areas where there's an imbalance of sellers to buyers, and that's usually at the lows of the days or at the highs of the days. And you can see there's most of the volume for that day traded here. And so there's liquidation low, you get excess low into support, and then it gets bought right back up. And you can see it just, anybody trying to short here just starts covering like crazy. Buyers start chasing back in. People were buying the low. And so I was looking at that, and that was during a cash session, and relative volume was like 252%. And they still couldn't break it below this level here of 30,000, which basically went right to 30,000. And then they trade, you're still up underneath this. I kind of think of this as like just this big heavy cloud of resistance here. And you just cannot even attempt to get back up into the previous week range. So we trade back down, we start trending back down. It was pretty weak selling here into back into that level again. And so as I'm watching this, I'm panicking a little bit here because I got a lot of my resources here tied up in crypto. So I'm looking at this like, okay, are we going to try and break through this level again? Okay, so what I just said was, we're trying to break this level. There wasn't nearly enough volume. That was during an open cash stock exchange session. There's tons of traders are out and about, and they're all doing stuff, and they still couldn't break the level. So can we do it? Are they going to break it on a weekend? And I wasn't too sure about that. I didn't think that they would actually be able to break this level on a weekend, on their second attempt. And a lot of times you see this pattern. Let's just get rid of all this stuff. This pattern right here, I notice, happens a lot. Let's just get rid of this. You'll see this on dumps, and you'll see this on the upside too. It's very similar, where you got massive dump to start it all off. You got a huge rebound, and then a second attempt to go lower, and then another rebound. And so we had two of those here. We had a weak attempt to go low, okay, and then we had a bounce, and then we had another attempt to go low. So sellers keep trying to push this down, or people are being liquidated just over time. It doesn't always happen. All the accounts get liquidated here. I imagine it's kind of like a rolling effect over time, and then people get liquidated. And then once that last account or that last big account's kind of like, okay, we give up, then it rips. And I'm sure a lot of people feel this, just bought it and then it goes instantly down. That's what is happening, is that there's people trying to short here, and there's accounts being liquidated here. But all that really matters are those accounts being liquidated, and that there's tons of people just waiting here at 30,000 who at 60,000 didn't want to buy because they wish they would have bought at 30. So now they're going, okay, I get a second chance at life. And then, so now they're buying. I don't know if this comes back down again. In my opinion now, I'm looking at it. So I don't know if this is the ultimate bottom, but I knew that it was a likelihood of a bounce here, especially coming into the end of the week. But I don't know if it stays up. And I don't really care too much. I do, but I'm really just concerned about the long term anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. But I'm looking at this day today, and that was a pretty nice profile. And the reason I say it's nice is because there's just a ton of buying here. You can just see it, all the levels getting bought up. Let's turn these off. Compare this profile with these. Look at all the selling, volume very contained, all the selling, volume contained, not a huge range, but kind of just like a pretty thin, a lot of selling here again, not a lot of buying, trapped longs here, because they probably bought it at the beginning of the day and then got liquidated on. Same thing here, a lot of trapped longs, and then they got liquidated on. Liquidated on sounds really weird. And then, okay, so then you're coming into another test of that low, which was, a pretty significant drop. So that's going to be a significant level here. And so once you learn the psychology of all this, you don't even really need all these indicators, but it does help while you're in the moment, because while you're in the heat of the moment, you can't, obviously hindsight's 20/20, so in the heat of the moment, it helps to look at this stuff. But so now we're looking at a bounce here, and we're seeing a nice green profile for that day, for yesterday, which was today, but it ended at 7 p.m. Central, so we're on a new day now. So now it's trying to build out this new profile. Let's go into what I like to use is the 15-minute. So we have kind of a reversal day happening here. Looking at this profile, I'm seeing what you see a lot of the times with when you use volume profile is the point of control, which is this purple line, which is really just the point at which the most volume for the day was traded, and then it gets printed. It can change, it can move, but a lot of times that gets revisited. In almost every single case, it gets revisited. You can look back. So let's just start. Let's go back as far as we can. I bet you there's almost every single case this point of control gets tested again. Let's maybe go to the 30 so we can see more. There we go. Oh, so we got a hanging chad here that has not been tested, but you can see it here. So look, let's just go back to here. So here's a point of control, and then it traded higher, point of control, tested. Went higher, point of control, dropped, point of control, came right back to this one that started it all, right? Tested that, ripped higher. Hit that point of control, ripped higher, came right back up to this point of control. You can see how it just keeps happening. It's just bouncing between points of control. So we got this hanging chad here, which is going to be an important point. I imagine at some point in Bitcoin's future, it retests this 57.2, and I imagine a lot of people feel the same way, but it's probably going to come back up to that point of control. However, we still have the little hanging chad here where this point of control has not been tested yet, 33.5. Very possible, more likely that it retests 33.5 than it would this particular point of control. Now this one is going to be a long-term point that you're going to be looking at. Okay, so that's just the volume profile side of things. So we got this one here, 37.6. It probably needs to be retested. And by retesting, it's like auction theory. It's what the market is trying to do is discover a price, and the price for yesterday, which was today, but in the last trading session for Bitcoin and crypto, was the price that they all settled on essentially was 37.6. That was kind of like that day's version of, okay, here's our agreed upon price, and it obviously overtraded it a little bit with the tweets from Elon and blah, blah, blah. But I imagine they're going to go, okay, was that really the price? Let's go see. So everybody's just like, okay, I'm not really interested in buying here because I want to buy here. If they are buyers here, then we'll probably bounce higher. If this level fails, very good chance we come back to this level where we see a nice little peak here. So this 35.2 is going to be a level, kind of a minor level. It's also the low from the other day. And then you also have a point of control down here at the bottom, which was a pretty significant one because that's the one that started this whole move. So they established a point of control here at 33.5. Okay, so this is just my game plan going forward. And then so now we're adding in a little bit more context here for these things with the daily ranges and the weekly ranges. So now we're looking at this going, okay, we got point of control here, but we have tons of support and resistance all the way down. So what is the likelihood? Are there enough sellers to push us back to the lows here? And we've got quite a few situations here. What I like to do is I'll set up, okay, so here's a low here. Oh, you can see my lines that I've already put in here. Sorry, I forgot I erased those. So these are all the previous, I'll go to a 4-hour chart. These are all the previous highs, lows, and ranges, going all the way back. Because what's happening when you're watching an asset move is it's just moving from one point of value to another point of value based on buying and selling, price and volume. So all you want to know are these weekly, monthly levels, because that's what it's going to trade through. You'll see that this is where Elon tweeted. Elon and Michael Saylor started talking about, the Bitcoin mining. They're trying to put together some kind of council for transparency as far as, are they mining with renewables or not, or are they going to make a commitment to mine renewables, all that junk. But that came right here as they're trying to break this out of 3 weekly resistances and a previous high. So I don't know why it always works out that way, that the news comes out right before a resistance or support breakout or breakthrough. But right now we're coming into these levels again. So we tested it here. Now we broke out. We went right to this weekly level of 40. Came back down, tested it. At the end of the day, started a new day. They tried to push it higher again, but you can see here in the volume. Here's the big volume spike they got it through on the tweet. Volume just dropped off. There's just not enough volume when you compare it to these levels here. There's not enough volume to push it through a level that it couldn't break earlier. So naturally it's going to fall, and it makes sense that it falls because there's not enough buyers. Right now we're sitting in sellers. So this comes to this intraday bar volume. You guys, if you guys have been following me, I use this, but I changed these from columns. I used to have these as columns to lines. And the reason I did that is because each candle bar is going to be showing me the buying and selling volume. So each bar is showing me buying and selling volume, and so I'm looking for these crosses here. And so I'm comparing these levels to previous levels, and I'm looking for the crosses. And right now you're looking down here and you're seeing that the bears are in control. There's no sellers. You can see this green line is down super low. And in general, the volume is relatively low. So I don't imagine any huge range of volatility unless something happens here. I don't imagine this breaking yesterday's lows. It could come back down into here. It needs to test this point of control, which we have right there, which we can just quickly. It'll print over. Okay. So anyways, let's do this real quick. Bring the front. There we go. So we still have to come test this level. We're inside this little weekly cluster here. Okay, so just giving you some insights into my thoughts here. And then I've got volume standard deviation, which is going to show me the standard deviation of the volume as well. So this was a pretty big standard deviation of volume, when you're talking relative terms. So this is what I want to know, relative volume. We're pretty low here. So I'm looking at today's action. We're seeing some excess low here on the volume profile. 70% of the volume since 7 o'clock has been traded above 38.7, and so now they're trying to set some new value levels here. Right now it's just an excess low. Does it continue breaking lower? I don't know, but I don't see the volume here to confirm this to break much lower than 37.6. But that's to be determined. So then what I add in here is this smooth Heiken Ashi candle, which I just think is awesome because it's going to smooth out these Heiken Ashi candles to give you a trend. You can see right here it caught the trend change. You can see it catches these trends really well, and right now we're in kind of a deprecating factor here as far as this trend. So we are looking for more downside. I just don't think it's going to be huge unless we see some big volume coming in. And then I add these L-Edge volume painted bars, which are going to and I color them this way. I color them. This is going to be highest volume, medium, low, high, medium, low for down, and then this is high, medium, low for up. And so I color the lowest as gray because I don't really want to put too much weight on gray candle bars. And you can kind of see how it gives you an impression of the volume using those candlesticks. So we're seeing a low volume bar into excess low with low volume just overall, trying to break down a previous support. I would say, if I'm looking at this, that this is in here is some kind of buy, at least for the short term, at least for a day trade. I would be looking to get long here, just because it appears to me that buyers have disappeared, and but sellers aren't really there either. So I'm waiting. I would be waiting to see what happens here. Are we going to see buyers coming back in here? And then I don't know. You might just wait and see if it gets back above these smooth candles. But this is the new setup for me. And if you guys want some more videos on this, please let me know. I know it's a lot for one video, but I like the principles and everything that it brings to the table as far as trying to catch lows and highs using your daily and weekly ranges, and weekly levels and monthly levels, and then also using your standard deviation of volume, and then also the intra bar volume in conjunction with your volume profile. I've always used those two things, but having those ranges on there printed there for you, it helps you because you can just look at a chart right away and sort of kind of see the play already there. Let me just see if I had SPY queued up today, and so we can see the breakout today with SPY happened because we basically opened up on on Friday's high. So this was going to be, well, not Friday's high, excuse me, Thursday's high. So this would have been Thursday's. This is printing Thursday. This is Friday. So this is Friday's range. So we're here on Thursday's high, and then at the value area high as well. So this is going to be an area of support here. And then we see our trend is just straight up all day. And then we see the weakness happening here at the end of the day. And so I started getting a little wary here on this run up. I did think the run up was going to happen, and then I started seeing this happening, this cross here. And so in my mind, I'm looking at this, I'm like, they're just going to sell this off at the end of the day. I know they'll probably buy it up again because they're going to try and take out this previous monthly high, which is, of course, 420.69. But anyways, if you guys want more like this, I'm not going to keep going forever. Like, subscribe. Let me know if you like this kind of setup here. Go check out the other videos. I have like all the algo stuff and free setups for those and all that. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.